Hello and welcome to Conversations with Agents of Change. Today's episode is a very special one for me because it sits at the intersection of where I started my professional journey and where my purpose is taking me today. Before working in innovation and impact, my background was in computer sciences. I've always been fascinated by technology, by AI, by e-commerce, and by data, but the invisible systems that shape the way we live, work, and make decisions. What I find incredibly powerful is that these are also the spaces that so many young people are looking at right now and thinking, that's the future, that's where I want to be. But at the same time, there is a conversation we don't have often enough. Because the data industry, the infrastructure behind everything digital, is also one of the most resource-intensive industries on the planet. So the real question becomes, how do we take the best of technology, the innovation, the opportunity, the global connection, while radically reducing its environmental footprint? And that's why today conversations matter so much to me, because I'm joined by someone who's not only building high-performance data systems, he's doing it from Northern Ireland, helping to shape the future of the ecosystem here. Ronan Bradley, Northern Ireland site lead and principal engineer at Ocula Technologies. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me today.
Ronan, I love to start with your story because for those of us who began in technology, there's always a moment where curiosity turns into vocation. So there are so many aspects of technology, but what drew you into engineering and data in the first place?
Well, honestly, it started with problem solving. I liked understanding how systems worked and making them better. And then what's kept me here, especially in recent years, is watching that gap close between what's theoretically possible and what's practically buildable. 5 years ago, the kind of agentic AI work we're doing at Ocula would have been a research paper, but now it's a product, and that acceleration is addictive. You wake up every morning and the frontier has moved on.
I think that is amazing that you speak about that, because I think one of the things that I'm always trying to do in my work is to translate complex systems into human impact. And because data is not just technical, it influences how cities are designed, how organizations measure impact, how resources are distributed. So in your work, where does it become real? Where does it move from infrastructure into something that generally changes outcomes?
So interestingly, we're living through that transition right now with AI. Like for years, the conversation's been about, AI models, bigger models, better benchmarks, more parameters. That was the infrastructure phase. The shift that's happening now is into orchestration and application. Like, how do you take these powerful foundation models and wire them into real workflows that produce real outcomes? Like at Ocula, that's exactly what we're doing in e-commerce. We're not building models, we're building agents that use the models to solve actual business problems. We're enriching product data, we're building integrations in the fly, we're generating copy that helps sell products. And by doing that, we're removing the friction that used to take weeks of manual work. And the outcome isn't that we have AI. The outcome is a retailer onboards in hours instead of months. And that's when it changes things.
Absolutely. And then you can see that in a practical life. And this is where I see such a strong connection with the impact world, because better data, it also means better decisions for sustainability, for social value, and for long-term thinking. There is another part of this conversation that I care deeply about. We know that the digital world feels intangible, but it runs on very physical infrastructure, data centers, energy consumption, cooling systems, and that creates tension. Because the same technologies that can help us solve climate changes also carry a significant carbon footprint. So I'd love to hear your perspective. Is this a conversation the industry is having enough? Where do you see the biggest opportunities to reduce the environmental impact of data and AI?
Absolutely. So it is having the conversation more than it was a year ago.
Absolutely.
But that's largely because people have forced it to, right? And the commute demands of modern AI are staggering, like from training frontier models that consumes energy on an industrial scale. And now we're scaling inferences too. So like every ChatGPT query, every agent loop, every AI-powered research result has a real energy cost, right? And the industry tends to treat that as someone else's problem. The cloud providers will sort it, or renewable energy will catch up, but as we all know, that's not good enough. But I think there is a nuance here where I think the conversation is too simplistic. So the environmental cost of AI isn't just about making AI greener. It's about whether AI itself can make other industries dramatically more efficient.
Absolutely.
So if an AI system optimizes a logistic network and saves millions of truck miles, or manufacturers reduce waste by 30%, the net environmental equation might tip the other way. And I think we need to be honest about the costs of AI, but also why we've been rigorous about measuring the benefits of it, because it's not always one-sided or the other.
I absolutely agree, because at the end of the day, it's not just what do you really need to do those queries for something that is really basic. Do you need to use AI for every single thing in your life? The answer is no. There are many things that you can do yourself. When you want to Google something, you don't necessarily have to go straight to ChatGPT to get that information. At the same time, when we use AI, we should be using that for a greater purpose, to try to understand and support other industries, as you just very well mentioned. So I think that for me is where innovation becomes like a responsible action.
Yeah.
It's responsible innovation, not choosing between technology and sustainability, but actually to put them together, to redesigning technology in a way that it serves both. And another reason these conversations matter to me is the place. As someone who built a life and career in the UK after starting elsewhere, I'm always fascinated by how regions become innovation hubs. And you're doing that from Northern Ireland. And I personally find it very interesting, because I have been here for 12 years, and I found that Northern Ireland is filled with talent. And so what do you think is happening here that the world is not seeing yet?
Well, it's an interesting one, because the world often sees Northern Ireland as a post-conflict success story and maybe a tourism destination.
Yeah.
But what it's missing is that there is a serious growing tech and data ecosystem here. Like, we've got companies producing production AI systems, like not demos, not proofs of concept, but real products serving real customers. Ocula being one example, that we're building agentic e-commerce technology that competes globally. But there are also other teams out there working with, from health AI to fintech to cybersecurity. And I think the one thing the world is missing is how the current wave of AI actually levels the playing field for places like Northern Ireland. The bottleneck in engineering used to be you needed a massive engineering team, huge capital, and you need to be in San Francisco or London to make that happen, right? But now a small, sharp team with deep domain expertise and access to like foundation models through APIs can build things that would require a 100-person team 3 years ago. I think that's profoundly democratizing, and Northern Ireland is perfectly placed to benefit from that.
Absolutely. And I think that it's also one of the beauties of Northern Ireland.
That's right.
Belfast is becoming a tech city. So I am loving that big tech companies are finding offices here. But what I like the most is all that innovation, that people are starting to grow their own businesses and starting new businesses. And one of the things that I've seen as a resident now is that powerful connection. There's this need of networking. There's this welcoming factor of, let's work together. Let's try to bring opportunities together. I really like that, because this is where collaboration becomes essential between technologists, the impact organizations, academia, funders, and industry. Where do you see the most exciting opportunities for those worlds to meet?
Ooh, okay. So I think this is where AI makes that question, that collaboration question, more urgent and more exciting, because we're at the point now where AI can genuinely accelerate research, like drug discovery, climate modeling, material science, but only if the people building the technology are working alongside the people who understand the problems. And the risk is that AI development stays siloed in tech companies, optimizing like for ad clicks, or while massive societal changes go on. So underserved, like the opportunity in Northern specifically is that we can move faster on this because of our small scale. Like you could put together a consortium of university research group, an AI company, a health trust, and a funder in a single week here. Try doing that in London. I'd love to see like Northern Ireland position itself as a test bed for like responsible AI deployment, a place where new AI capabilities can get piloted in a real world settings, and proper governance and validation before being scaled more widely. And like we talked earlier about the environmental impact of AI, and part of that energy consumption is the cooling effect. I think our climate is quite a good place to cool, useful to cool machinery, whether it's through renewable energy or otherwise,
Yes, absolutely. I love that, because I see that you're not only building systems, you are shaping teams and careers. And there are young people listening to this who think about entering this space. So what would you say to someone who wants to work in AI and data, but also wants their career to have a positive impact in the world?
I'd say you're entering the field at the most consequential moment in history. for AI. Like the decisions being made right now about how it gets built, deployed, governed will shape the next several decades of probably everything. So the first thing is your voice matters. Don't assume someone else is thinking about the ethics or the impact, because they might not be. Practically, I'd say learn to build, not just how to use AI tools, but to understand what's underneath them, how models work, how data flows, how systems are architected. The people who will have the most impact are the ones who can hold both the technical depth and the human context. You don't need a PhD, but you do need curiosity and rigor. And like, pick your battles wisely. Like every sector is about to be reshaped by AI, and find one where you care about the outcome. So whether that's in healthcare, education, climate, public services, and go deep. The generalists will do fine, but the people who combine these new AI skills with genuine domain expertise will do extraordinary things.
I love it. Love it because you mentioned that curiosity. And to us in Agents of Change, I think that is one of our mantras. In order to achieve something, in order to follow a dream, you need to be curious enough to
Absolutely.
to sparkle that. So I think this is so relevant. And we call this podcast Conversation with Agents of Change. And for me, an agent of change is someone who uses their expertise to open new possibilities for others. So I'd love to ask you, what change do you most want to be part of in the next decade?
So personally, I want to help close the gap between what AI can do in a demo environment and what actually does in the real world. Like right now, there's an enormous implementation gap. Technology is extraordinary, but organizations can't access it meaningfully. It's locked behind complexity, cost, shortage of people who know how to deploy it responsibly. And that's what we're working on at Ocula in our domain, making sophisticated AI capabilities accessible without requiring a team of ML engineers. I want to see that pattern replicated everywhere. The technology should serve the people and not the other way around.
Love it. Absolutely. And it's extremely relevant because at the end of the day, there is so much, you can see the whole mountain of things that are out there that we would like to get involved. And it would be really difficult for me to choose one or the other. But the fact that you want to just summarize that and say, I want to close that gap and bring it closer together, to me is really, really important because that brings the need to bring people together to make that happen.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about me, I'm going to achieve such and such, it's just to bring that whole team together to make that happen. And I love that. So there's a rapid inside round, right? So one myth about AI.
So that it understands is extraordinarily capable, but understanding and capability are different things, and conflating them leads to bad decisions.
Definitely. And one skill that every organization needs.
The ability to define what problem they're actually trying to solve before reaching for AI.
Yeah.
Like that sounds obvious, but almost nobody does it.
Absolutely. No, I've seen that very, very often, unfortunately. It's painful to see that we are using more AI rather than our own brains, even for small tasks.
Absolutely, yeah.
One thing Northern Ireland should be proud of.
That we build things that work, not things that demo well. And that's a competitive advantage in the age of AI hype.
Absolutely. I agree. And this Northern Ireland pride of building hands, I think it's fantastic. From Titanic to tech to trains, cars, like you name it. There is this huge historical sense of we build stuff, and I love it.
And we don't shout enough about it either.
We definitely not. And that, I would like to invite especially young people that they are in the verge of making a decision on what am I going to do next. There's a lot of talent out there. And even if you don't feel powerful enough to choose it, just go and see what others are doing. You might feel inspired and say like, well, if such and such did it, maybe I can.
I could do that.
So yeah, I could. And the very last one in this rapid insight round, one word for a sustainable digital future.
Deliberate.
Okay, that is amazing. Love it. Innovation is never a solo act. It happens when technology, purpose, investment, and people meet. And those are the spaces where partnerships are born, not from transactions, but from shared vision. What I'm taking from this conversation is that transformation is not only about the technologies we adopt. It's about the ecosystem we nurture, the talent we grow, and the belief that world-class innovation can be built from wherever we are. Ronan, you are helping to make that visible and possible. Thank you for being part of Conversations with Agents of Change.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
This podcast is produced by the Change Impact Group.